Black American position is survival at any cost, with all the ramifications and problematics and pluses and minuses of that. I mean, the Igbos are not apparent in our philosophical traditions because the Igbos didn't survive. They made different sets of choices. Nam June Paik, who's a father of video art, Korean actually, he has a really incredible quote when he said, the culture that's going to survive in the future is a culture that you can carry around in your head. And I always felt like the Black American community is such a profound example of that. Because if you look at where we're strong in precisely the areas where we can carry the culture on our nervous systems, meaning in the Middle Passage. If you look at our traditions, like we're really strong oratorically, dance, music, right? And it's not to say that we don't have these profoundly rich and deep traditions on the continent around other types of expressivity, particularly material expressivity, sculpture, painting, all these other kinds of things. But those things are things that are, like, relatively speaking, underdeveloped in the context of Black America. And it's because, you know, you can't carry architecture on your back when you're on a slave ship. You can't carry material, those kinds of things. When we got here, we not only didn't have access to material, we were raw material. We were not human beings when we got here. We were objects, not subjects. So that undergirds everything else that kind of happens to us. Now, so, I mean, just to say, so I think, like, when you see, like, to me, like, I think a prime example of survival at any cost is, in fact, Michael Jackson's father, Joe Jackson, who Michael said was a genius. He said that Joe Jackson was a genius even late in his life, and I think Joe Jackson was a genius. The question is, what kind of genius, you know? We tend to overvalue the genius of musical expression, these kinds of stuff, and I think oftentimes we don't. Like, it's hard to get a grip on, like, the ontological genius, genius of being, genius of life, genius of survival, this kind of stuff. So I think Joe Jackson made some really kind of profound strategic moves and decisions in relationship to his family to sort of transform the term and the range of possibilities for his family. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Gary, Indiana, but it's definitely a no-end kind of proposition, you know? And so the whole idea that this guy who's working in a steel factory could take this family of like 10 or more kids and actually, you know, within a fairly short amount of time, in fact, take his family and have them be, you know, the Black American family, the dream Black American family living in Hollywood. It's just, I mean, it's unfathomable in the sense that nobody's like, to me, I think if there's a novel that's deeper than the story of Michael Jackson, it's the story of Michael Jackson's father, you know, and the choices and decisions that he made and all the sort of ramifications of those choices. I mean, I think classically speaking in terms of Black American philosophical traditions, I don't think ontologically speaking that Black people have ever situated being in the body. I mean, as much as we know our bodies circumscribe our movement in this society, I don't think Black Americans think of our bodies as our being. I mean, we might obsess about these bodies because I think these bodies dictate how we can maneuver in this society. But like, say for example, Black Americans don't have a problem with the idea of a Black person who has a non-Black parent, say for example. If a Black person has an Asian parent, we just see them as a Black person because we know it's not about the body, you know what I mean? So I think when you see somebody like Michael Jackson, the whole idea of focusing on this whole idea that Michael Jackson either wasn't Black or didn't think he was Black around the kinds of decisions that he made with respect to our body, I think there's a kind of asymmetry in terms of how we deal with each other on the individual level and the kinds of terms and criteria that we project onto him in terms of come to some conclusions about what his impulses were. Or what he was trying to achieve with the kind of moves that he made. I mean, it's really clear that, and I don't think mostly anybody would dispute it, that thinking that you're ugly and thinking that you're Black are not mutually exclusive things in this society. I mean, so he profoundly felt that he was not attractive, but he was always baffled when people said he didn't think he was Black. He was completely befuddled by the conclusion that people were drawing about the moves that he made. I think a more proper, or at least another area that we got to look at to dictate or determine how and to what degree Michael Jackson thought of himself as a Black person was in the space that he made his most profound expression in, which is like musically and in terms of dance, where he was a classicist, in fact. I mean, all of Michael Jackson's moves, musically and in terms of dance, were classical Black American moves. I mean, you know, there's very little you know, yeah, I was saying to Esther the other night, I was saying, even though, like, say on something like Thriller, and he did Beat It, he had Eddie Van Halen take the solos, the guitar solo. Now, personally, I was disturbed by that when I was younger because I was like, well, why didn't he get a black guitarist? You know, it's a sort of narrow nationalist read of it. But the thing about it is, it was a strategic move. It was a strategic move. And Michael Jackson was so far beyond. It's just like in the sort of genius of hip-hop is that it knows it's not about the body of the material of things. It's about how you move the materials around. That's what hip-hop is about. It's like taking anything and reconfiguring those things, what I call immaterial invention. It's like black Americans are geniuses at immaterial invention because we didn't control material. You know? So, Timberlands, let's wear those things 3 sizes too large and untied. Let's put the pants on backwards. You know? We didn't invent basketball, but we created basketball. See what I mean? We have this capacity to transform things without changing the structure and material dimensions of those things. It's a deep kind of physics kind of thing that's happened. So with somebody like Michael Jackson, I mean, well, why wouldn't he take certain opportunities to transform how he was looking? Or why wouldn't he use, like using Eddie Van Halen to take that solo on Thriller is the same exact strategic move as having the cosmetic surgery. His sort of what I've termed, as Esther said, radical innocence, right, is a strategic move. If Michael Jackson had come like a grown-up ass black man, Paul McCartney never would have given him the idea to buy the Beatles catalog. Paul McCartney did not perceive Michael Jackson as a sexual or a threat on any level, which is why Michael Jackson moved like he moved on the Beatles catalog. See what I'm saying? It's a strategic move. He's a shapeshifter. That's what he is. It's so classically black. He's a shapeshifter. The dude is a shapeshifter, which is a different conversation from whether he had self-loathing. Who of us, if self-loathing crosses off our list, ain't no black people in America.